Chapter 1: The Auditor. The plant was dead. Leon noticed it on his way out, a small brown thing in a plastic pot on the windowsill of the foreman's office, leaves curled inward like closed fists. Nobody had watered it. Nobody had thought to. He supposed that was the kind of detail that stopped mattering after a while, and he made a note of it without knowing why, and then he stepped through the door into the noise of the factory floor and forgot it entirely. Belden Fabrications occupied what had once been a sporting arena on the western edge of the city. Leon had seen photographs from before: crowds, colored lights, the particular joy of people gathered for something that didn't matter. Now the seating tiers were gone, and the floor was filled end to end with assembly rigs, conveyor systems, compression units, and the several hundred human workers who tended them across shifts that ran 20 hours out of every 24. The air smelled of machine oil and something sharper underneath, something biological that Leon had never been able to identify and had stopped trying to. The ceiling was high enough that the upper levels disappeared into a permanent industrial haze. Somewhere up in that haze, fans turned without stopping. He walked the floor with his tablet and he counted things. Stations: 142 active, 6 offline for maintenance, 2 offline with no maintenance ticket filed. He noted the 2 output figures were within acceptable range. The components moving down the line were trigger assemblies for a weapons platform Leon had never seen and had no clearance to ask about. They were going somewhere out there, into the war that hummed along at the edge of human awareness like a radio signal from a station nobody could quite tune in. Leon didn't think about the war. It wasn't his department. He thought about the 2 unfiled maintenance tickets. "You're going to flag Rennick for those," Jason said, appearing at his shoulder with the particular ease of a man entirely comfortable in difficult places. "Rennick files late consistently, it's a pattern." "It's 2 tickets. 3 if you count February," Leon kept walking. "Patterns are how things fall apart." Jason fell into step beside him. He was Leon's age, perhaps a year younger, with a broad, open face that had always struck Leon as designed for a different kind of life, something outdoors, something physical. He wore the same gray administrative uniform as Leon but wore it differently, the way some people wore any authority, like it had been cut specifically for them. He was good at his job. He believed in it. Leon had always found that second part harder to understand than the first. "Rennick has the best output numbers on the floor," Jason said. "Rennick has the best output numbers on the floor asterisk and a pattern of late compliance filings. Both things are in the report. Law will appreciate the output numbers. Law will note the compliance issue." Jason made a small sound that wasn't quite agreement and wasn't quite argument, and they continued down the line together in the way they had worked together for 3 years, not as friends exactly, but as 2 people who had learned the precise shape of their differences and moved around them efficiently. At Station 77, a worker was on his knees. He had gone down quietly, which was why it had taken a moment to notice. No sound, no drama, just a man who had been standing and was now not standing, crouched against the base of his rig with one hand on the floor and his head hanging. The workers on either side of him kept working. The line kept moving. Leon stopped and looked at the man and then at his tablet and then at the man again. He was perhaps 50. His jumpsuit was dark with sweat across the back and shoulders. His hand on the floor was trembling slightly. He was breathing in a way that suggested he had been breathing that way for some time before anyone noticed, shallow and careful, rationing something. Leon opened the incident tab on his tablet. "Worker incapacitation, Station 77, cause, probable fatigue dehydration, productivity impact. Single station, estimated 4.2% line reduction for duration of incident." He filed it and flagged it for the floor supervisor and kept walking. He did not look back. He had learned not to look back the same way he had learned not to think about the war, not because he didn't care, or told himself he didn't care, but because caring was a door and he had closed it and sealed it, and the effort of keeping it closed was so constant and so old that he barely noticed it anymore. It was just the shape of things. It was just how you got through a day. Though something did flicker, brief, a small cold light in a sealed room. He noted it the same way he had noted the dead plant, and then he filed it away, and then it was gone. They finished the floor assessment by midday and took their lunch on the upper supervisor's deck. 2 chairs, 2 ration packs, a narrow window that looked out over the Western District. The alien administrative towers rose in the distance, 9 and 10 stories of pale geometric architecture that managed to look both entirely purposeful and entirely indifferent to the landscape they occupied. Beyond them, just visible on clear days, the larger structures, the ones that had no human analog, that had been grown rather than built, that curved in ways Leon's eye kept trying to correct. He had stopped seeing them years ago. They were just the skyline now. "How's your mother?" Leon asked. It was reflex more than courtesy, the question he always asked at lunch, because it was the one that made Jason human in a way that their work didn't always allow for. Leon had met her once briefly at a mandatory social function in the first year of the administration. A small woman, nearly blind even then, with Jason's same broad face softened by age. She had held Leon's hand with both of hers when they were introduced and told him to eat more. He had thought about that for days afterward without knowing why. Jason's expression changed in the way it always changed when she came up, some specific softening around the eyes, something uncomplicated moving through the complicated machinery of him. "She's all right, her vision's gotten worse. I've got her set up with a reader now, automated, she can ask it for whatever she wants." He paused. "She asked it to read her the occupation charter last week, the whole thing." "Did she finish it?" "She did, told me it was very thorough." A brief smile, genuine and unguarded. "She's sharp, she doesn't miss much." "She sounds like you." "She sounds like she raised me." He unwrapped his ration pack and looked at it without enthusiasm. "She worries, I tell her not to." Leon ate and said nothing and looked at the towers. After a moment, Jason said, "I've been accepted into the Threshold program." Leon looked at him. "The medical program, through the administration." Jason said it evenly, like a man who had prepared for various responses and was waiting to see which one arrived. "It's voluntary, cellular integration. They're using material from a precontact species, something from their own history. The biology is compatible, apparently, more than compatible." Leon set down his ration pack. "What does that mean?" "It means enhanced response times, physical resilience, cognitive processing." He paused. "It means being better at the job. It means letting them put something in you. It means choosing to." Jason met his eyes. "That's the difference, Leon. It's a choice. Nobody is making me do anything." Leon looked at him for a moment and then looked back at the towers. "What does your mother think?" he said. Something moved across Jason's face too quickly to read. "She doesn't know yet." Leon nodded slowly and picked up his ration pack and ate and said nothing more about it. There was nothing more to say. Jason had made his decision before he'd announced it. The announcement was not a consultation, it was a notification, and Leon had learned over 3 years to know the difference. He thought briefly about the worker at Station 77, whether someone had brought him water, whether he had been able to stand. He closed the door on it. Lal was waiting for them in the debrief room on the 14th floor of the district administrative tower, a long pale room with no windows and a table that was slightly too large for the space, as if it had been designed for a different building and installed here anyway. This was common in alien-designed interiors. Leon had never decided if it was carelessness or intention. Lal stood at the far end of the table. He always stood. Leon had never seen him sit. At 9 feet, he was not the tallest of his kind Leon had encountered, but he was the most still, a quality that went beyond mere patience into something that felt geological, like stillness that predated the room and would outlast it. His skin was the color of pale ash, hairless and without blemish, his features arranged in the broad flat configuration that Leon's mind still, after 5 years, registered as almost asterisk before it registered as asterisk other asterisk. Almost a face, almost eyes. The slight wrongness of it had stopped disturbing Leon somewhere in the 2nd year. Now it was just Lal's face. He took their tablets without greeting and reviewed the assessments in the silence that was his default register. Leon stood with his hands at his sides. Jason stood with his hands clasped behind his back, the posture of someone who wanted to demonstrate comfort without performing it. "Belden's trigger output is adequate," Lal said. His voice was low and even, the consonants shaped with a precision that was not quite accent and not quite translation. "The supervisor's compliance record will be addressed." "We'd recommend a formal notation rather than reassignment," Leon said. "His output numbers suggest value in continuity." Lal looked at him, not long, just the precise duration required to indicate the point had been registered. "Noted." He handed back the tablets. He looked at his own, something Leon and Jason were not given sight of. Leon had spent considerable time over 3 years wondering what was on Lol's tablet and had arrived at no useful conclusions. There is an additional assignment, Lol said. He brought something up on the room's display, a topographic map, mountain range, remote, northern sector. Leon didn't recognize it immediately, which meant it was far outside his usual jurisdiction. A materials processing facility. Preliminary output reports are inconsistent. You will audit independently. He looked at Leon. You will take your personal craft 2 days. Solo audit, Jason said. There was something careful in his voice. Correct. Leon looked at the map. The mountains were tall on the display, their contours rendered in the flat bureaucratic palette of alien cartography, functional, stripped of beauty. He had never been that far north. I'll need the facility access codes, Leon said. They will be transmitted to your craft. Lol looked back at his tablet in a way that ended the conversation. Depart tomorrow morning cycle. Leon nodded. He picked up his things. He and Jason rode the elevator down in silence, and in the lobby Jason's communicator chimed and he looked at it, and his face did the thing it did, and Leon knew without asking that it was his mother calling. Jason stepped away to answer it. Leon stood by the door and watched the street outside, workers moving in the late afternoon light, gray uniforms, measured pace, the particular quality of movement that people develop when they have been somewhere too long and have learned to take up less space. Morning cycle asterisk, he thought, 2 days. He picked up his bag and walked out into the city and went home.